to say I'm so glad that I broke out my Monet-inspired sponge outfit because I'm a little drippy and these sponges really come in handy. Oh, hey! Hi! It's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, here with the Fingerdoo Review for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 10, Episode 9, and all I have to say is, Jorge, drink me! Oh, look at you making a martini. This is the fruity martini that Theo made here at Wayla Bar and Lounge, 996 Queen Street East. I noticed there's no garnish or straw. Oh, thank you, there's a straw. This straw's been used. Oh, but not by a human? Okay. Oh, this is more martini and less fruity, I'm just gonna say, but it's delicious. If you want to know how to make this fabulous martini, just go to my Wilma at Wayla for May 17th. The first video always has our drink recipe. Theo made this one. Well, Theo didn't make this one, Jorge did, and it's a little strong. And I'm okay with that. So, we started this episode off by saying goodbye to the Vixen. Once and for all. And I have to say, I'm not sorry to see her go, but I wasn't surprised by her hateful, or at least interpreted as hateful, mirror message. Now, I felt worse that she's completely illiterate, because either she spelled Trump with an I, or triumph without the H. Either way, evil trumped something and nobody understood it and they wiped it off and never thought of it again. That's the impact the Vixen left on those girls. God bless. Regardless of how the other queens felt about the Vixen, I have to say I was very warmed in my heart area over Eureka's comment that she was a talented queen, regardless of how she acted on the show, and that she was going to turn it out in the real world, no matter what people thought of her. And you know what? I thought that was a great thing for her to say, and true. Something else that I thought was great to say was Asia admitting that her being in the bottom sparked her need to try harder. What I think it did was scared the poop out of her. Either way, Asia was galvanized for this week's challenge and making sure she didn't waste her time on the show. I'm so serious. I also think it was great that during Untucked last week, Aquaria, who spent most of her time during Untucked not understanding what Cracker was saying to her. Here's the thing. I think that she understood what Cracker was trying to say to her very clearly. I just don't think she cares what Cracker has to say. And she likes to play little games with her, and the game is, I don't understand what you're saying, which forces someone like Cracker to over-explain herself and then obviously get frustrated and hate someone more. So well done for Aquaria. That said, the reason I thought that was because after everything that Cracker tried to say to her in Untucked about her being kind of dismissive of everyone else's feelings by saying things like, I want to win and I wish you would all go home, I thought that was funny that she said exactly that this episode. And here's the thing. Why the hell would Cracker even care what anyone else is thinking? Because the whole point is to win. That's what Aquaria said. If you're not saying I want to make top 3, then why are you here? Anyone who's worrying about how somebody's words are affecting their feelings are actually being affected personally by what somebody's saying. Cracker, stop worrying about other people. Just be good. Just be good. That should be the byline for RuPaul's Drag Race. Just be good. Seriously. I love how the next day in the workroom, somebody brought up the Cincinnati rag frog from the Warner Brothers cartoons. You know, that frog who only danced and sing when no one was looking. And I like how they compared Aquaria to that. That nobody really saw her being fabulous except her when she's alone in her room. And bless her for being too young to know who that is. I'm sick and tired of people dragging young people down, saying, oh, you're too young, you don't know. It's like, well, so what? There's all sorts of things that young people know that I don't know, like how to tweet on multiple platforms. I don't understand that. You have to know what a young person to kind of get that social media savvy down. So don't be dismissing the young people. But before they could get into all this with Aquaria, it was time for RuPaul's message. But again, second week in a row, it wasn't RuPaul. It wasn't Chad Michaels. It was Stephen Colbert, God bless him, being all drag racy, literate, and totally on top of everything as far as colloquialisms were. And his movie-themed, acting-themed message was fabulous. I love that he throws shade and that his tea is silent. Because if you're gonna have teas, don't be yelling them. Nobody needs to know they're wrong. But before the queens could be too starstruck with Stephen Colbert, there was Ru with this week's mini challenge, which was pants down, bottoms up. Sponsored, I'm assuming it was sponsored, by Rounder Bum Underwear. Now, here's the thing. I have to say, this was a cute challenge, especially when they initially told the girls that that was the name of the challenge, and then called the pit crew in, and the first 2 walked in, and then the next 10 walked in, and then finally the full 20-odd boys all walked in, all gorgeous and different. There was somebody for everybody. No matter what tickles your tonsils, there was somebody there to do just that for one of those queens. And God bless, they all look great from the front. I'm gonna just be the first person to say, I'm not a fan of that underwear on someone's bum. I like a bum. I like a nice, round, bubbly, bouncy bum. It doesn't have to be tight, muscular. It doesn't have to be loose and jiggly either, as long as it's nice. And I felt that that underwear didn't feature everyone's bum in the best light possible, I'm just gonna say. That said, the girls individually had to pick a pit crew member. They dropped their underwear, they had to match underwear. And the winner of this challenge was Aquaria, because I think she was able to focus on the underwear specifically because in her mind, she was still hotter than all those guys. So she wasn't distracted. Unlike some of the other girls, like Asia right off the top, who picked one number and then just stared at him. Subtle. So because Aquaria was the winner of the mini challenge, she got a special advantage in the main challenge, which this week was an acting challenge, Breast World. The girls had to do a scene from the parody of Westworld, Breast World, an island full of drag queen robots. And as the winner, Aquaria got to assign all the parts. Now, I have to say, I don't know if it's because she's been browbeaten by all the other old bitter queens, or because in her heart of hearts, she really doesn't care and thought everyone should just pick what they wanted. But she let everyone pick what they wanted. But here's the thing, these queens missed a huge opportunity to pick characters they could do something with, and pick characters they liked the description of, because no one read the script. All they knew was this character is this way. Ooh, I want to play that character. Well, that character had 3 lines at the end. Or this character has all the lines and you have to do everything. It was a real rude awakening, especially for Aquaria, who ended up with the last character that was left, which was the robot, the hostess thing. And I just have to say, whether the queens did good or bad, whether the queens sparkled or were dull and lifeless in a corner, that scene sucked. I'm just going to say right out of the gate, nobody could have made a silk purse out of that sow's ear. It was a hard show to watch. The script didn't give a lot of the girls a lot to do. I have to say that Monet's improv was fabulous. She was hilarious. Asia blowing in the last few minutes of the scene, of course she was a breath of fresh air because everyone was sick of looking at everyone else by that point. The girls that struggled, of course, Cameron, and rightly so, even Ross said that she only had that one note. She kind of came in tense and high and shrill. She needed to build up to it and give herself different levels, and she didn't. And then Eureka, God bless her. I don't feel that she looked bad in the edit, but watching her during the rehearsal and the filming of the scene was painful. I'm so serious. The girls that didn't do badly were, of course, Aquaria. I thought she did great. She didn't have that much to do, and when she did it, it was hilarious. Cracker as Julie, the hostess, and first of all, I think that Cracker's old enough to know what the Love Boat is, but then again, she was poor. Wasn't she poor, too poor for a TV? I don't know what their story was, but she had no idea who Julie from the Love Boat was, so of course she missed a great opportunity for some character insight. But I didn't think she did that badly. She didn't do that great. So clearly I think the standouts in the acting scene were Asia and Aquaria for me. Monet, all of the great stuff she did was all aside stuff, which people noticed, but it was aside, it was subtle, it was slipped in between things. I don't think she stole focus with it in a way that made her stand out as a performer. So it was an opportunity I felt that she missed. But again, I don't blame any of these queens. This time, I blame the writers. tell them I said that because normally everyone blames the editors. Even Ru's visit to the workroom while the queens were all getting prepared for their Westworld performance didn't seem to galvanize their efforts as much as normal, and which is odd because this time I felt that Ru was literally saying to each one, "This is why you suck, stop sucking." For instance, Cameron being quiet through everything is like, no, you gotta shine. Eureka, even if you have 6 lines, you gotta make them big, make them your own. I felt that her pointing out to Asia that not only did her Beyonce suck, but that she was in the bottom last week was literally translated into stop sucking, stop being in the bottom, be better. And thank God Asia seemed to listen. But the rest of the girls, I don't know if this visit to the workroom helped them or hurt them further, especially where Cracker was concerned, because she's one of those girls that the more you say to her, the more she has to think about. God bless her. And thinking hasn't been a Cracker's best friend this season, I just think. As we've been wearing down to the smaller numbers of queens, I like how in the workroom, as they're getting prepared, there's more time to kibitz, to chew the fat, to talk to each other. And today's topic was dating. A lot of people who are drag queens often aren't dating, because some people think that's how they like to be all the time, dressed as a woman, and it's not the case for most drag queens. So seriously, I just think as a public service announcement, I'm just gonna say, date a drag queen if you haven't yet. Just put it on your list. Don't run out and do it now because I told you, but next time you meet somebody and you think they're interesting, they say they do drag, follow through. You have to marry them, just sleep with them a couple times, see how you like it. It's a thing. So the girls hit the runway for the Silver Foxy extravaganza. And I just want to say off the top, because we had 2 guest judges from Broad City, there was a lot of prolapse pussy talk, I'm just going to say. And I'm not a fan. I'm just going to say, at the best of times, I don't need to talk about vaginas or clitorises or pussies, which I hate saying. Especially don't want them sticking their tongues out at me, I'm just gonna say. So it was a very vivid runway before it even got started, and then it happened. And I have to say, there were girls that did well. I thought Cameron killed it on the runway. I thought that character was complete, but then she had a full prosthetic face application on, which I was impressed with. Aquaria, not so much. People thought she didn't look old, but I'll tell you, in 30 years, she will be old. She's not thinking about old right now. And I think nothing made that clearer than her posture, because the only thing that made her look young was the energy with which she was standing there. That's why Cracker looked the way she looked. Her drag on the runway wasn't my favorite, but it was good. It was like you've seen that woman in Manhattan walking around with that one furry shoulder. The girls that didn't do that well, I didn't understand Asia's look. It was all right. I liked the socks and the slippers, don't get me wrong, but the rest of it was all like, I don't understand what's going on. Eureka, such a disappointment. It wasn't because she didn't look good, but she didn't look great. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And she said in the workroom she was wearing that outfit because it was comfortable, and she knew if she was in the bottom, she could lip sync in it. So on one level, it was maybe fortuitous that she felt she would be in the bottom, so she had a comfortable outfit to work in, because that's exactly where she landed. I'm so serious. The other queen whose runway I loved was Monet's, and only because it was high camp and very funny. But I feel that she shot herself in the padded ass by not wearing a big old wig. I mean, she didn't wear a pussycat wig either. She had no wig on, which I think set a couple of the judges off a little, like, what am I watching, what am I? And then she whipped open her hospital gown, and she had those Carol Burnett boobs swinging by her knees, and very funny. And her performance was great. And that's why I have to say, I am shocked she didn't win this episode. No offense to Asia O'Hara, I was shocked that she won this episode. I really thought it was going to be Monet, or, quite frankly, Aquaria, because who expected Aquaria to be even remotely funny in this? And she was. She did quite a good job. The girls that were in the bottom Oh my God, well it was no surprise really. We knew Cameron was going to land there because of her performance. It was one note, as Ross said, it didn't go anywhere, and I agree, she should have put gloves on her hands or something because her tattoos are too hot. I'm just saying. But Eureka as well, OMG. Talk about a wake-up call. And I have to say, after the last couple of lip syncs, this was a great lip sync. I'm so happy to see Eureka throwing herself into the splits on stage, because that's exactly the type of move that screwed up her knee in the first place and sent her home episode 5 of season 9. But she not only did the splits once, she did them twice. And the second time she did the splits, so did Cameron. Cameron did the side splits. I would just like to point out, that's Cameron's signature move, side splits. That's flexibility, I'm just saying. But they did such a great job lip syncing against each other that they were too good to send home, and RuPaul kept them both. So yay for them. Especially, I would like to say, I'm glad no one went home this week, because really, the poorest performance, again, I'm saying this without being shy about it, was by the writers. Boo. Terrible parody. I don't know if I would have written better, but I wouldn't have written worse, I'm just saying. So, there's still 6 girls left, which means there's no free rides left. They can't extend this season any longer than they have. If they don't pick somebody to go home next week, I'm going home. I'm just gonna say, they need somebody to go home. And who will it be? Well, Asia got a win this week, but I think she was lucky on her win. Monet is... she wants it. You can see she wants it. She's on the edge. And I would just like to say, my Monet-inspired sponge hat is absolutely because she whipped out her sponge last week and I thought it was dead. So I thought, I can't fight her. I'm joining her. I'm just going to try and make this sponge as fabulous and great as she thinks it should be. So if you like a nice sponge hat, trust me, this is the way to go. There, it's functional and delicious. But that's enough about me. Let's talk about the queens. One of them is going home next week. It could be anyone at this point. I think they all are on the bubble. Aquaria, she gets too comfortable with herself. Cracker's still thinking too much. Monet wants to win so much that I think she gets in her own way for it. Cameron, I still think is a ninja. I still think she's going to sneak up on some of these girls and show them what's what. Who do you think's going to go home? Well, we only have to tune in to RuPaul's Drag Race next week and find out. And don't forget, tune in to see Wilma Untucked later this weekend. And don't forget, like my video, share it with your friends, because why keep all of this to yourself? And make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Until next week, miss me. Mwah. Seriously, Jorge, this fruity martini is delicious.